Everyone's been waiting on LeBron for over a week now, and according to ESPN's Brian Windhorst, LeBron already knows exactly what he's doing. So what's actually taking so long? The worst possible explanation would be that he's waiting for the World Cup to end just to have the global spotlight all to himself. That would be the most diva thing imaginable. And honestly, nobody thinks that's really it. What's actually crazy is that we've got a real shortlist now, and once you break it down piece by piece, only one team truly makes complete sense. Let's start from the beginning, because the way this actually played out says a lot more than people realize. On June 30th, hours before free agency officially opened, LeBron told the Lakers he wasn't coming back, which freed the organization up to move on and start rebuilding without him. This is coming off a season where he averaged 23.2 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 7.3 assists per game at 40 years old, still performing at a level most players never reach in their prime, let alone in year 23. He also remained the single most watched player in the league on social media last season, pulling in roughly 2.9 billion views, more than any other player, including younger stars who are actually still competing for championships. Whatever team lands him isn't just getting a player. They're getting the single biggest attention magnet left in the sport. Clean break, no drama on the surface. But the real story is in what happened in the weeks before that announcement. According to ESPN's Ramona Shelburne, LeBron was reportedly around 80% likely to return to the Lakers during the Houston series in the playoffs. Then, about a month later, he was gone. So what actually happened in that month? Shelburne's own reporting says nobody knows for certain, but there are real clues. LeBron reportedly went to the Lakers front office and offered to take a pay cut, on one condition: tell him how that freed up money was actually going to be spent on the roster. And the Lakers, according to the reporting, basically told him they didn't owe him that kind of transparency anymore. Come back if you want, leave if you want, we'll be fine either way. That's the kind of answer LeBron reportedly hadn't heard before, and it apparently hit differently. It echoed the previous summer, when the Lakers didn't offer him an extension, something that reportedly frustrated him at the time too. Put those two moments together, and you get a picture of a guy who wanted to be wanted and instead got told the team had already moved on mentally, with Luka Doncic now clearly the franchise's actual priority. If that's accurate, LeBron didn't just leave the Lakers. He left because the Lakers made it clear they'd already stopped needing him. So where does he actually go from here? His agent, Rich Paul, took to his own podcast, Game Over, and literally pulled out a whiteboard to lay out the options. The list included Cleveland, Miami, Golden State, Denver, Minnesota, San Antonio, Dallas, and Philadelphia. That's a wide net for a 41-year-old former MVP heading into his 24th season. Early on, Golden State looked like the clear frontrunner. Draymond Green actually declined his player option specifically to help create the cap room needed to bring LeBron in. For a minute, it genuinely looked like it was happening. All the Warriors needed to do next was find a way to trade for Anthony Davis to pair with him. And then, according to reports, Golden State essentially said they weren't doing that deal, which is a genuinely strange call. Would you really rather roll with a 37-year-old Jimmy Butler coming off an ACL injury than pair LeBron with a genuine co-star like Davis? That decision alone cooled what looked like the hottest option on the board. There's also been reporting that the Lakers have publicly denied any willingness to move Davis at all, insisting he's not on the table, even after locking up Trae Young-style backcourt help and swinging the DeAndre Ayton trade this same offseason. Whether that denial is genuine or just posturing to drive up the asking price is anyone's guess, but it's added yet another layer of uncertainty to a Warriors deal that once looked like a formality. Here's where you have to actually understand what Rich Paul says this decision is built around, because it explains almost everything else. Paul has said publicly this entire search is strictly about LeBron's happiness. And happiness, in Paul's framing, breaks down into a handful of real categories: basketball fit, competition, camaraderie, and lifestyle. Basketball fit basically means how well LeBron slots in without forcing something. Competition means the team actually has a real chance to win, which, to be fair, applies to pretty much every team still in the conversation. Lifestyle apparently means, among other things, golf, because at this point everything involving LeBron seems to circle back to golf somehow. If you're new here, this channel breaks down the real reporting behind stories like this every week, not just the headlines. Hit subscribe so you catch the next one, and let's get into where camaraderie actually points. Camaraderie might be the single biggest factor in this whole decision, and there's a real reason for that. LeBron officially announced he was leaving the Lakers right after a trip with his old 2016 championship Cavaliers teammates. On that trip, they stayed together, played golf together, genuinely enjoyed each other's company the way old friends do. It's not hard to imagine LeBron coming off a trip like that and realizing how much he'd been missing that exact feeling in Los Angeles, where by all accounts things had started to feel more like a job with coworkers than a locker room with brothers. So let's actually run through the contenders using that same happiness framework, because each team grades out completely differently depending on which category you're looking at. Start with credit, meaning, would LeBron actually get real recognition for winning there versus being seen as just chasing an easy ring? Cleveland grades out extremely well here, given the franchise's history and everything he's already meant to that city. Minnesota also grades well, since the Timberwolves have never won a championship and a title there would be viewed as a genuinely massive accomplishment. Golden State is the trickier case. Winning with Steph Curry, someone he's battled in multiple finals over the years, would feel like a very different kind of achievement, one that might not earn him nearly as much individual credit given how loaded that roster already is. Then there's basketball fit, and this is where Minnesota might actually make the most sense of anyone. The Timberwolves have been agonizingly close for years, and in each of the last 4 seasons, they've been eliminated by the exact team that went on to reach the finals. The recurring problem has been a lack of a real second playmaking scorer next to Anthony Edwards. They tried Karl Anthony Towns, then Julius Randle, and both eventually got traded away. Now they've got LaMelo Ball instead, a starting 5 of LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, LeBron James, and Rudy Gobert would genuinely be all-star level production at every single position, and it would take the heavy playmaking burden off LeBron's shoulders across an 82-game season. Golden State's fit looks strong too, largely because of his existing chemistry with Curry and Draymond, along with the respect he's always had for Steve Kerr's system. Cleveland is the opposite story when it comes to fit. It's an incredible narrative on paper, but the on-court reality could get messy fast. Both James Harden and Donovan Mitchell are ball-dominant guards who need the rock in their hands to be effective, and neither is exactly known for defensive intensity. Picture LeBron standing in the corner watching Mitchell try to create off the dribble while Harden works through a step back with visibly frustrated body language. Philadelphia's fit, on the other hand, actually looks excellent, right up there with Minnesota, even though the roster isn't especially deep and Joel Embiid's availability has never been something you can fully count on. Miami's roster is solid too, but it's thinner than Philly's and lacks the outside shooting LeBron would need surrounding him, which makes it a potentially sneaky miserable landing spot despite the name recognition. Camaraderie is where Golden State separates itself the most clearly. A clip from a recent appearance on The Shop went viral for a reason, with LeBron talking about how much he actually enjoys Draymond's edge, saying he loves being pushed and challenged by teammates who'll get in his face when he's not performing. That kind of chemistry doesn't get manufactured. Philadelphia also grades out strong here, since LeBron reportedly has real respect for Tyrese Maxey specifically, to the point where Rich Paul apparently put a star next to Maxey's name on that whiteboard. And according to Shams Charania, momentum around Philly shifted noticeably once they traded for Jaylen Brown. Sixers president Bob Myers made the pitch himself directly on Paul's podcast, telling him, "I honestly believe this is your best chance to win." That's about as direct a recruiting pitch as it gets, coming straight from a franchise executive with multiple championship rings of his own from his Golden State days. Minnesota, on the other hand, grades out the lowest of the group here. It's genuinely difficult to picture 82 games of LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards' energy at 41 years old. And Rudy Gobert has developed a reputation, fair or not, as one of the tougher personalities to play alongside in the league right now. Then there's lifestyle, the category that might matter more to a 41-year-old than people want to admit. Cleveland scores well simply because it's home. Golden State scores well because it's a realistic commute from his life in LA, plus reportedly solid golf, even through the winter months. Minnesota grades out poorly here, for fairly obvious reasons. Snowy winters, a smaller market, and reportedly no real golf scene to speak of. which matters more than people think for the league's most famously Hollywood-oriented superstar. Philadelphia barely registers on this scale at all. Denver's worth a mention too, as a genuine wild card, mostly because of the built-in fit alongside Nikola Jokic, one of the best pure passers the league has ever seen, someone who could theoretically make LeBron's job easier at this stage of his career than almost anyone else on the board. Denver hasn't gotten nearly as much airtime in this conversation as Cleveland or Golden State, but insiders have quietly kept them in the mix specifically because of that fit. So when you put the whole board together, Golden State ends up with strong grades across nearly every category except credit, which raises the obvious question. If the fit is that good and the camaraderie is that strong, why aren't they just trading for Anthony Davis to close this out? The most likely explanation is that LeBron simply hasn't guaranteed he'd actually sign there even if they made that move, which makes the risk too big for Golden State to take on unilaterally. Philadelphia is the other team grading out with mostly strong marks across the board, which is honestly a little surprising given how the conversation started. The real question mark there is off-court chemistry. If LeBron shows up and starts naturally taking over huddles the way he always has, does that create friction with Embiid's ego or with Jaylen Brown, who's spent his career wanting to be the clear number one option himself? Given all of that, the actual prediction here leans toward Cleveland, even though the fit questions are real. LeBron is famously aware of how narratives look from the outside, and the story of him finishing his career back home is simply too compelling to ignore. He's already voluntarily spending large chunks of this offseason in Cleveland and Akron specifically, and when Shams Charania's initial reporting broke, it specifically noted that this next team is likely to be his last team. There's something poetic about that ending in Cleveland, rather than somewhere brand new like Golden State, Minnesota, or Philadelphia. It would also mean a shot at doing something no athlete in NBA, NFL, or NHL history has ever managed, winning a championship in 4 different cities with 3 different franchises. For comparison, Michael Jordan won all 6 of his championships with the Bulls, then came back with the Wizards and didn't even make the playoffs. LeBron chasing a 4th different city would be an entirely unprecedented chapter. And that's about as complicated as it sounds, especially considering that 10 days into free agency, according to The Athletic's Joe Varden, virtually none of the pursuing teams have actually met with LeBron directly. The only front office figure believed to have any real personal line to him is Cavaliers assistant GM Brandon Weems, a childhood friend dating back years. Everyone else, including team owners, presidents, and general managers, has been relaying pitches exclusively through Rich Paul, some even recording voice memos just to get a message through. That alone tells you how tightly this entire process is being controlled. So here's where things actually stand. LeBron reportedly already knows his decision. Nobody outside his closest circle does. The frontrunners, by most reporting, come down to Cleveland, Golden State, Minnesota, and Philadelphia, each with real strengths and real question marks depending on what LeBron actually values most heading into year 24. What do you think he does? Does he go home to Cleveland for the poetic ending, or does he chase the best possible fit and locker room in Golden State? Would Minnesota's roster actually be enough to overcome the lifestyle concerns, or does Philadelphia sneak in and steal this whole thing? Drop your prediction in the comments, and let's see who actually calls it right once LeBron finally makes it official.